Well, thanks for having me today. It just feels like we've rounded out a conversation of 4.5 years when I first saw Rebecca and Shamila and spoke to Brodie about initial plans he was talking about with Space Cube, and we had similar plans for the Creative Corner, which is a not-for-profit we've established in the southwest to support the creative industry sector. And the one thing about what the Creative Corner's done, instead of getting all our structure in place for the creative sector, we got carried away with a festival called Emergence Creative, which in itself is its own incubator, very structured but very fluid festival that runs annually over 3 to 4 days, based in the southwest. So I'm going to give you a little taste of that today, and hopefully over the discussion we can drill down. I cheat a bit putting videos in. Oh, wow. Well, that was it for me. We might need to bring this, and that's a bit like Emergence as well. A lot of it's not really actually planned. A lot of what we do is on the fly. A lot of what we do, we make up as we go along, and that's where infuses the creativity, the collaboration, I guess the inspiration that keeps us all moving. Let's see if we can go that. That's more like it. Oh, I did actually get to say something in the middle of that. So we've grown ourselves. Perfect. Look at that, making my life easier. Thank you. So we've got a group, so we've basically got about 120, 130 companies in the southwest, and they're across musicians, communications companies, designers, film, digital, technology companies, startups. And what we found when we were working with a group called Enterprise Connect, and I was working on a food tourism, agri-tourism cluster in Manjimup, which you've probably seen as genuinely Southern Forest, or the Southern Forest Food Council. But there was this inkling in me that was, I'd been running this creative agency, one-man show, charging by the case, not by the hour. I had an incredible view, but a very average bank account. I didn't have behind me the financial management or the project management skills to actually grow my business. And it was something that was really sort of annoying me. I was working so hard, and I remember there was a telling point, and actually when a financial management company said, "Can you redesign my logo?" And I sat down and said to them, "Well, why did you choose me out of all the designers you could have used in the Rotary?" And they said, "Because you're the cheapest." I said, "I'm not doing something right here. Maybe I'm not the guy that quotes for the job." So when I look at the Southwest, I look at all these great inspirational leaders in their own field, but they're off in their own space doing what they love. But a lot of the collaboration and the financial management, the project management, and securing the work isn't taking place. And that's what we found as a real need, which drove us to Emergence. Next slide. So what we've done over 3 years is this festival. It's the smell of the oily rag productions, as everyone knows events and festivals. So we created a 3 to 4 day festival in Margaret River that is really a really focused conference, but it actually brings together these creative types, if you like, across these disciplines. And for this year, one of the biggest challenges we've faced, people always ask me, what is emergence? And I'll sit in all these committee meetings and we'll talk through it, and everyone will have the new tagline for the year. And I'll sit there, and everyone's got a different take on it. Everyone's got a different angle on it and get something else out of it. So this year we went a little bit different. We commissioned 6 artists. I think the 3 of them appeared substantially through the public forum. And so we created this piece that reflected all the streams that we try and bring together. And this was done on a timber board, and then we just extracted bits and pieces, and that became our brand throughout the year. Next slide. One of the other things I thought I'd bring in, we have this problem with emergence, kind of not a problem, but we have our speakers who want to come back and speak the next year. And anyone that knows about putting together a program for a festival, it's kind of hard to put, you know, the same speaker in the same slot next year, because you'll hear on the street, well, I'm not going to that. I heard that last year. So we created this thing called the Alumni. So we're actually offering to our speakers who come back some ridiculous couch surfing package, or they can be involved as an MC, or they can run a workshop, or just get involved in some of our outbreak sessions, which I can talk about a bit later. But I think the most important thing to recognise as well is that I'm finding that I get suggestions for speakers. West Australians have been living abroad for 20 odd years doing incredible things, and they want to come back and support this festival and support WA in general. And they're becoming the ambassadors, if you like, going forward, but actually creating the tangible product that is stemming from it. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of our speakers from this year, and that's them all meeting in Sydney, who had never met before, and now looking at developing programs between Penguin, Fox, a production company, and Fairfax Media. So that sort of collaboration isn't just happening at a local level, it's happening as a result of it. Next slide. But the key question is, what is emergence? We might just quick play on that. We started asking people what they thought it was.
Emergence creative is 97% inspiration, 3% what? And some of this, whatever that is.
So the next slide. So one of our launches, we live in a wine region, so we thought we'd create a beer coaster. And we thought, well, we'll have them at the launch, people can take a coaster home, that's part of our publicity material. You know what happens after a couple of beers, you come up with a few ideas. So the coaster became something else. Next slide. We launched, where did I put it? There it is. The small ale. We chose 2 of our artists that were involved in the collaboration, and Colonial Brewery, who is one of our partners in the event, we actually developed a can of beer and launched it at the festival. And I won't open it now because it is, although it's a light beer, it's before midday. But the great innovation about this beer can is the whole top rips off. So after it becomes a flower pot, a can holder. And for those that like to have a beer on a hot summer day, it probably goes down a bit quicker. And for the next slide. So we might hit play on this one. So you imagine the can puns we've come up with. We actually created a wall that people were writing can puns all throughout the night. It was hilarious. So, and you've got to watch the quiet ones in a meeting. Mike Dunn is a great friend of mine, our tech director at the festival. He took himself away, middle of the night, we call him Midnight Mike. The next minute he's bung up an animation. So can we use that? It became a GWN commercial, and all of a sudden this beer, just the next slide, is now selling out. They can't keep up with the production. You'll hit play on this one. So this is the launch. And to the next slide. So what has happened is we've got this team of creatives. We call them the collaborators. So when we delineate the conference with the festival, we run these outbreak sessions that are really primarily focused on getting photographers like David and Martine out in the wild or on the ocean. We get people together and we try to create live content. And the whole idea behind it is you get people collaboratively working together across mediums they've never worked before, and I find that triggers ideas. And so you've got this structure around your workshops, but a lot of it is a bit of trickery and a lot of improvisation. I mean, I'm a huge jazz lover, and I like that space where you go to into the unknown and you got to feel it through, and that's where I find a bit of the magic happens. Now, this band, for example, Dunsborough band, they all work full-time jobs in the region. They played, and this is how do I put this into a report? They played at a closing party at a farm on a deck, and I happened to get a text from one of the creative directors we had from Hong Kong, from Turner International, and he said, look, where's the next party? And I'm like, oh no, not another one. So I'm like, I'm ready to drop. Anyway, he sees this band and says, we've got to do something with these guys. Anyway, we'll just play that clip as well. They're very short, like me.
I think emergence is when two creative aspects collide together.
Emergence. Yeah.
We love emergence.
Okay, we've got about 40 of these clips. I'm not going to play through them all, but if you want to see a few of them, there's a heap. They're on our Facebook page, and they really give it a great interpretation of what the whole of festival is about. But to give you an idea, and we'll just jump on the next slide, those guys got picked up by Adult Swim in Hong Kong and got commissioned a really major video clip that is incredible. I wasn't able to pull it down last night at my dad's Wi-Fi, but I didn't have time to show it. But so we threw our closing party at an amphitheatre that hasn't been used for any type. It's an old Greek amphitheatre at Driftwood. So we used that amphitheatre to launch the video clips. We popped up a big screen and we premiered that clip. These guys got on a plane to Womadelaide the next day. They're getting serious about their music. They're getting commercial about their music. You know, the fundamental driver behind me that keeps me motivated to keep going with this is seeing great idea and motivated creatives actually making a living doing what they love, and it's sustainable. It's, you know, it's what we want to be doing. Next slide. And this guy works through the night, doesn't sleep for days, produces clips on the fly, has them live the next morning. You know, dropped one off at my place last night, one of his Instagram clips he'd done for the beer. This is the guy that's 27 and is on his way to be someone you'll remember in filmmaking in 20 years. And every year we had one of the guys from Ben Stiller's Productions company come out, one of the big producers from Sydney wanting to employ him, but he wants to stay in Margaret River. He wants to create his little pieces there, but his opportunities are there and he's getting recognised for that work. And I think that's so important, a part of this connection, this collaboration, that we're actually bringing these humble heroes, if you like, that are having a crack into the front. I pulled him up at the end of the amphitheatre party to introduce him, and he ran off stage. He was like, he didn't want to be acknowledged. And someone from the front row, one of our committee, said, Matt, everyone's watching. You know, you've got to, keep this under control. And said, you know what? I like the way he humbly got down off the stage and got back to his desk and finished his edit. It was quite profound. And the next slide. And we'll just click that one here because I didn't let her get away with. Once I knew she was madly photographing. Martine Perret, who's a photographer, and David that are here today. Well, their book they produced that we used as an early bird campaign, if you like, for Emergence this year. That's something that, you know, when Martine was involved in Emergence last year, that she got to know the helicopter guy, our print partner, and then great ideas materialise. And I think it's tangible. I think that's the most important thing about a conference for us. You've got to walk away with something that's, tangible, if you like. You might want to click a video.
Hi guys,
Thanks.
Welcome to United Nations Mission for Ebola Emergency Response.
It's Emergence Creative.
Yeah, of course. Sorry. So let's do it again. Welcome to United Nations Mission for Emergence Creative Response.
Martin, I told you, emergence creative.
Oh, ah!
And they're all mad, which is good. We encourage it.
Emergence Creative! Yoo!
So that came out while, Martine was working in an Ebola zone for the UN leading up to the festival and came back. And I think that's what I think. It underlies a creative conscience, and a lot of the people that are involved in this group or this bunch that get involved in this festival, a lot of people are doing some great stuff. And I think going forward, as Brodie acknowledged, we face a lot of challenges, and I think creative people, and I work for the government, which is a challenge when you're someone like me. You're not very good at ticking boxes, and you go into meetings and you've got ADD and you start wandering off, and risk aversion is something I'm not prone to. So I day to day have this survival working in government where I work alongside great people, but sometimes I'm not understood. And I think, this collaborative approach of getting the right people working together to take projects forward, examples like, Space Cube, etc., allow that organically to happen, and that chemistry and that conduit, if you like. Thank you. How am I going for time? Stop. All right. Thanks so much for listening. I look forward to the conversation.